All right, Athan, a lot to talk about on the football side, but let's talk about you as a human being. Like, what is it like being here on this program around your new teammates?
It's a new experience, and it's something that's been very exciting for me. Getting to meet a bunch of new people. There's a lot of things that have been different, especially being on the East Coast. My family grew up here, so I have, there's a lot of things I'm familiar with, but getting to know people and their stories is something that's been exciting for me.
Okay, so let's talk about stories, because all over this facility are signs of these great stories, and one line is drop the shield. It's all about just becoming who you are and sharing your story. So how have you done that, and how have you committed to competing to tell your story to your teammates?
Yeah, I think it's okay to be vulnerable. I think, in my life, I've had trouble sometimes dropping the shield and opening up about my life, but being around people that are open about their lives and what they've been through has just made me feel so connected with them, and it's been really easy to drop the shield around my teammates and my coaches and be honest and open about what's going on in my life, and that's something that I think has been really important to me so far.
Sometimes people ask about what transition is like, right? And they say, what's the toughest part? I don't really want to know that. I want to know what was the easiest part of your transition coming here.
The easiest part, honestly, had nothing to do with me and everything to do with my teammates and my coaches, because all they did was welcome me in here. So it was really easy to transition into a program full of people that were able to drop the shield right away, not even knowing me, but telling me who they are as people and what they're looking for. And it was really easy to come in here and just be myself because of my teammates and my coaches.
Miserable conditions today, to say the least. But you really threw the ball well, and I was excited to see that. But you also have a great command of the offense, and it feels like you feel like this is your team right now. How long did that take, and how does that make you feel as a player?
Yeah, once again, that's credit to my teammates and my coaches, giving me the opportunity to take control of the team. And it's been a journey. It's something that doesn't happen right away. I really had to show the guys that I'm here to work, and I'm here to play well and do the best I could possibly do. Be present in the moment, and I think they see that in me. They see that I'm willing to do what it takes to be the best I could possibly be.
I think it's interesting when you think about transfer quarterbacks. Last year at the Heisman Trophy, all the quarterbacks were transfer quarterbacks, and they all would say at their new stop, they were able to just drop their shoulders, play with more freedom, have more joy. Watching you practice in the rain, as you referenced, you have this smile that is like screaming through your face mask, man. Do you feel that in this second opportunity at your second school?
I definitely do. The guys, you see it all around the field. It's not just me, it's everybody. Everybody's, in the moment, present, and just enjoying where we are. Not looking into the future and not looking into the past, but just enjoying where we are. And, that's super exciting.
You've had an opportunity to hand the ball off to some pretty impressive running backs at your last stop. And tell me about Kaliakmanis.
He's special. He's a dude. He's super intelligent. He really knows what's going on. He knows the game. He's really good with situations. He knows he's able to anticipate things on the field, and when he's not on the field, he's constantly studying. And he's got a lot of talent. Don't get me wrong, but what separates him is his intelligence of the game, and what defenses are going to do. He's really like a second quarterback. He's like a coach in the backfield. He really is.
What is this receiving core like, especially when that narrative, I know you guys probably hear it, we have to find explosive plays. Can we generate explosive plays? What has it been like with this group and some new faces there?
Yeah, I think you guys saw today, just athletic, super athletic, able to make plays when, 50-50 balls are like, 80-20 balls here. So when you're around guys that are able to make plays, it instills a lot of confidence in the offense.
I can only imagine that every time you talk to your teammates, you're instilling confidence, because he's doing that to us
right now
in the interview, man. Thank you for the time. Cannot wait to come back for a game this fall.
Thank you, guys.
Offensive coordinator Kirk Ciarrocca is with us now. And Kirk, looking at that offensive trend over the last couple of years, you certainly made progress in the run game. The challenges are in the pass game. You brought in Athan Kaliakmanis, who you recruited at Minnesota. How have you seen him progress early on here in his time at Rutgers?
I think Athan's done a good job of just trying to make sure he maximizes every day, and trusting the process and just grinding every single day, or as we say around here, chopping every single day. And I see the growth. right? And the thing that's hard for kids sometimes is when you only improve just a little bit, you don't really see it in any type of result. You got to keep stacking those days. But I was really impressed starting in the wintertime, through spring ball, through the summer. And I think out there on the field here in training camp, he's starting to see some of those results from all that work.
Kaliakmanis was an incredible revelation, I think, to the rest of the Big Ten world last year. I know that you guys felt really good about him when we were here a year ago. But what made him the player that he was? I mean, a guy who ends up leading the Big Ten in rushing. First time that's ever happened here at Rutgers.
Yeah, he's incredibly talented. I thought our line improved this year, went on. You know, and just like with Athan, it lets the receivers are developing too, right? In the run game, it's the line and him, but he's super talented. He's got great vision, acceleration into the holes, super smart, so he understands the run scheme inside and out. He always has the right forward body lean. He's very tough for the first guy to bring down. He never seems to go down right where he's hit. And those yards after contact are huge. It kind of allows you to stay with the running game. When a solid back would make 3 yards, he's going to make 5, right? And that's huge. And I think sometimes that gets overlooked, why having a special back can be so valuable to your offense.
We've seen this a lot in college football when quarterbacks get a second chance, they get new life. Just watching Athan practice today seemed like he just had a smile on his face. It's pouring rain, he's finding all the moments of joy in between every period. Have you noticed that when you know him with the background that you two have since he's been here?
Yeah, should have been here yesterday.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. He's a guy that, again, he loves the game. You know, and today he was out there and he's having fun. But what I loved, and one of the things we've been working on, you know, is that we've got to maintain that focus and concentration, play after play after play, and that's a skill. I really believe that. You know, some people are a little bit better at it naturally than others, but it's a skill that can be developed. And we were really, it was one of the things I talked to all the quarterbacks about this morning. Like, no mental mistakes. No busts, you know, out there. And if you could do it in practice, you definitely could do it in the game, because there's all kinds of, coach talks about bombs. There's bombs going off all over the practice field. We take a break. We're just an individual. They're working on special teams for 15 minutes. You know, so you've got to be able, the situation's constantly changing what we're doing. You got to be able to stay in the moment, keep chopping, is what we talk about here. So he's been getting better and better at it.
Where does he net out when it comes to discernment at the position? Situational football around, hey, should I throw this, should I not throw this ball?
Well, I think that's something you're working with every quarterback constantly. You know, and he's still developing in that area. But I've never had one that Joe Flacco was a first-round draft pick. You know, he was still working on that to the very end of his time with me at Delaware. So it's something we're always working on and that he's working on. And I think it's an area that's experiences are really important at the position. When you're throwing the ball in a window, you need to get a feel for how big is that window. These eyes are amazing. They're amazing, but they got to tell the brain something. And so, you know, that's one of the things that we've been talking about. Like, hey, we got to learn from these experiences. I'm not making the decision out there. Unfortunately, we can't pause the clicker here before you make that decision in real life out there. So, you know, but he's growing in that area.
Offensive coordinator Kirk Ciarrocca, always fun to visit with you, Coach. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys. Great to see you.
And Rutgers head coach Greg Schiano is with me now. And, Coach, we look at that trend line, certainly headed in the right direction. How do you feel about where your program is right now?
Yeah, I think you said it best. We're heading in the right direction. You know, when we'll get there, where is there? You know, we'll just keep getting better and see what happens.
So what's the next step?
Well, I think we have to play more consistent football, right? So there were some times we played really good football against the best teams in the country, but we have to do it for 4 quarters. So do we have the depth to be able to finish those games? We're going to find out.
You and I were talking on the practice field today, and we were talking about the pass game and Athan Kaliakmanis. We heard from him earlier in the show. It seems like he feels really comfortable here, reunited with his former offensive coordinator and Kirk Ciarrocca. What have you seen from Athan here in terms of elevating that pass game?
Well, he's more accurate passer than we've had. So that alone, I think we have some really good young receivers, and we have to be able to get them the ball in space and then let them go. You know, there's no, as I tell him, there's no like asterisk next to the yards. They can catch the ball at 7 and run for 70, or you can throw at 70, but they all count the same. So be accurate, get them the ball, and let's see what we can do.
It's interesting to look at you guys last year, and I know some of this was a function of you didn't feel great about the pass game, but you were 62% run. So as you kind of look at an ideal offense, what does that look like? Where's that percentage?
You know, I don't know if there ever really is a percentage. Kirk and I talk all the time. You do what you got to do to win. End of conversation. So if you can mix it and ham and egg it, great. If you got to run it against this team or you got to throw it against this team, whatever it takes to win that given week.
Let's talk about the rest of the offense. Kyle is a known commodity, had such a great year last year. The issue really is, again, in that pass game and with the receiver group, I know you feel like you're better off than you were a year ago. Give us a sense of that group.
I do. I think, you know, a year ago we had some guys that kind of set the room, set the culture of the room. Coach Brock came in, Coach Perry came in. I think he did an unbelievable job. And now I think we have some really talented guys that have to be developed. Dymere Miller transfers in from Monmouth University here in New Jersey. He's really impressed us a lot. And then we have Ian Strong, who played for us last year, did a great job. You know, and you look, Christian Dremel, you know, he had close to 500 yards receiving. So there's guys to work with, and then there's some young guys that let's wait and see. But I think they're really talented. We just got to get them out there. But we got 2 great receiver coaches that are getting these guys ready, and that's the ticket.
How do you feel up front on the line there?
Better than I have. We're not near where we need to be, but much better than I have. Depth will be the issue. We got to develop. We have some really good young linemen in the program, but they take time. It's just the way it is.
You guys have gotten so much better on defense, and obviously that's kind of your bread and butter as a coach. But now you bring 7 of your top 8 tacklers back from a year ago. So do you look to add new wrinkles when you have that kind of experience, or is it more a function of getting better at what we do? What's the balancing act there?
Well, it's always a function of getting better at what we do, because you got to hang your hat on something.
Yeah.
But, you know, Joe Harasymiak and his staff, they run the defense. Joe is awesome, and it's allowed me to do my job, and that's be the head coach, work with special teams, and do the whole recruiting bit. But I think what we need to do is keep doing what we're doing, a couple wrinkles that maybe complement what people know we're doing.
Yeah.
So then, well, this could come up. You know, it's not going to be very often, but it could come up,
right,
just to keep people honest.
I'm going to talk a little bit about the elephant in the room, and that's the expectations surrounding this team. I mean, there's one national commentator who was saying he thought you guys were a dark horse for the college football playoff. Your players certainly hear that. There's no way to shield them from that in this day and age. So how do you address stuff like that where there's a lot of praise coming from the outside?
Well, I hope, and you never know, right? But that's what our culture is about. Our culture is about chopping the moment. And if you're going to get caught up, I always tell them there's 2 great thieves. The past, that'll steal from you if you live in the past, and looking to the future, that'll steal from you. And if you can just stay in the moment, chop the moment, and they've done a good job so far. I want them to be excited about expectations. If there's no expectations, then we're not heading the right direction. But at the end of the day, it's still about doing what we have to do right now as well as we can.
So what do you have to do right now between this moment we're sitting in and the end of camp to get ready for this schedule?
Well, I think everybody's on a little different schedule, right? So like a Kyle Manung guy, he looks pretty darn good right now. Let's not get him banged
Stay
up.
healthy,
So get his reps and
right,
and then get him out. You know, Aaron Lewis, he's doing a good job. Let's get him. So I look at, 1,000 rep club plus guys that have played 1,000 reps in games. You get them ready, and then make sure they're there when you need them.
Coach, always a pleasure. Thanks so much for your time, and thanks for your hospitality.
Thank you, Dave.
Defensive coordinator Joe Harasymiak is with us now, and Joe, some pretty impressive numbers from last year. Before we look ahead, what were you proudest of with that group last season?
Yeah, I think the steps that we took from year one. I think anytime you come into a new program, they got to kind of get a feel for you, you get a feel for them, and then building off the year one where we made an improvement, from the year before, and then taking that step. A lot of guys have experience, and I think ultimately just we put ourselves in position to win a lot of games, and I think that's the next step for us. Looking back at last year, especially late in games, we got to be a little bit better.
I wanted to ask you about that because late in the season, late in games, things fell off. In November, in fact, there was no Big Ten team that gave up more second-half points per game than you guys did. What was that about, and how do you address that?
Yeah, I think it starts with us as coaches. I think putting us in a better position. I think as we got later in the year, We probably have to switch things up a little bit more and really just identify who we want to be late in those games. And then ultimately, I think that's the natural progression as you start to take steps in a program, and ultimately us as a defense, you're going to have some of those struggles. And as long as we learn from them, like I said, after year 1 to year 2, we learned from that, we made an improvement, and now it's about learning that process and how we can go about just getting better.
You know, you guys like talking about being a player-led program. 7 of your top 8 tacklers from a year ago returned. How have they elevated this side of the ball in camp for you?
Yeah, we say it all the time, leadership leads. So we have plenty of guys. We can name all of them, but they're all back. And I'm the most proud about, again, they're taking the steps. It's not easy to lead, right? It's unpopular. And we, Coach talks about, and we've been hitting in the defensive unit meetings, to be a good leader, you ultimately had to be a good follower at some point. And I think we had a lot of those guys when I first got here that followed, and now they're leading. And now we got the young guys following them. And if we continue to do that, we'll put ourselves in a position to be successful.
Coach, I was a follower today. I followed Aaron Lewis all over the field. I mean, and I followed his voice as well, and his energy and his juice. What does he do for your defensive front?
Yeah, we live and die by our D front. I mean, I tell them that all the time. If they can create knockback, because we talk about knockback being king, if we can do that, it sets the tone. It sets the tone for everybody at the second and third level. We're talking about increasing our takeaways. That's got to start with a pass rush, right? Allowing us to have more zone eyes in the secondary and at the linebacker level, and ultimately create that. But it ends with him. Like he can juice you up quickly now. And one of the practices, I didn't feel him, and you could tell. Right, you could tell, you could feel it. You just don't feel his presence. Even when he's not talking, you just can't feel his presence. So to have him like he was today, that was pretty impressive.
Yeah, he didn't flinch in one iota. When I look at your program, it seems as though the situational mastery is something that is often talked about offensively, but defensively. Just watching practice today, so many situations. Yep. What have you noticed about a veteran group for you calling the defense? What more can you put on their plate in that regard?
Yeah, I think there's a level of comfort. We talk about on Fridays before the game, we have our unit meeting and we talk about the game plan, and I always tell them I want you to know why I'm calling something. If it seems weird and off, there's probably a reason for that. And that comes from obviously Coach Schiano with our situational football, and ultimately what Coach Ciarrocca has taught me as well as a smarter player is a better player. And that's what I've tried to instill in our defense, and that's what I love working with those guys for, because I'm learning every day, and then I'll take a little bits and pieces of what they do and try and instill it into our defense. But we hit everything every day. I mean, today basically we hit every situation possible, and it just makes you think. It makes our players not just be so robotic, and they really have to know the situation and violently communicate at all times.
I want to ask you a little bit about Tyreme Powell. We're talking about Aaron Lewis. Tyreme's obviously been out with an injury, the Achilles injury from last year. Where is he in terms of his comeback, and when might we expect to see him on the field this year?
Yeah, he is so impressive. I mean, to get injured late last year and to be injured again in the winter training, that's not easy, especially with what he probably could have done if he stayed healthy. And the decisions he would have to make. And right now he's doing everything that he's supposed to be doing, and he's on track. And I'm excited. And in my room, it's great just to have him in there. Him and Mohamed Toure, like those two guys. You talk about the veteran, part of our defense. That's what we want. And I feel him every day. And when he's ready, he's ready. Luckily I don't have to make that decision. I just have to play great defense, and that's what I'm going to be worried about with whoever's out there. But certainly when he comes back. Talk about energy. That's going to bring some juice to the group.
Joe Harasymiak, fun to watch this group today. It's been fun to watch them progress here over the last couple of years under your tutelage. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
Tell me a little about today's practice. You guys looked like you were getting after it. It was raining out there. It was miserable, but the enthusiasm was still there.
Yes, sir. We pride ourselves on chopping, so no matter what's going on around us, we just want to stay in the moment. So weather shouldn't affect how we practice. The energy the leaders got to provide for practice. So that's a big thing for us. Like, leaders have to lead this year. So we're just focused on, no matter what's going on around us, we just got to stay in the moment and be who we are.
You hear a lot of people talk about this as a player-led team now. When does that happen? When do you see that transition to it being a player-led team?
Honestly, as the years, Schiano came back, and as the years go on, you see people, the people that he brought in start to, take over. If people start to, lead, so people start to have a voice. So as the years come on, now we're at this point where we have people who the young guys can follow. We have people who, can set an example. One of the big things we talk about is match me. So, people match me summer, right? Now we in camp, baby, but now, we just have people match us, you know what I'm saying? And as this transition, it was a slow transition, but now we're at this point to where we have people who are at the front as leaders, and you feel me, people can match what they're doing and produce it on the field.
One of the things I thought when you watch practice at the very beginning, when you're going through stretch, it's precise. It's a reason for that, and everyone's moving at the same pace. That right foot's on the line, left foot's on the line. What does that help you guys, or what kind of tempo and message does that send for the beginning of practice?
So for us, it's to start the practice, like we pride ourselves on being detailed. Like with Coach Schiano, he's a big detailed coach. And I feel like that transformed into all the players, like the leaders. So whether it's a right foot on the line or a left foot on the line, that's just like in the play, like when you have to do something with your job, it transfers over. So how you do anything is how you do everything around here. So we take pride in the little details.
Tell me a little about the secondary. You guys are contesting a lot of balls out there today.
Yeah, we're a veteran group. We have a lot of guys. Well, all 5 returned besides Max, and who was our third corner last year, Eric. He stepped up in a big way. So I feel like we have a very good secondary that's veteran guys, and we want to play fast. And we pride ourselves on being sticky, because our coach always tells us, like, you're judged by your distance at the end of a play. So be as sticky as possible and contest as many passes as you can.
What's the biggest part of your game that you want to get better and improve on as you go through camp?
For me, I would say for myself, I have relentless effort. And the one thing is, just cleaning up the details. The details, clean up the little things, pre-snap. What are we looking at? What are we seeing? And it's all about preparation, if I come back to it, like just preparing, and that's really what I want to work on the most. And, the whole D-line, for real, just preparing and knowing our opponent and knowing the situations that we're going into. So if we can do that, then we'll be prepared for anything. You
get an opportunity to look at your quarterbacks, your wide receivers. Talk about going against that group every day.
It's a new group, really. A lot of guys that played some last year but are really stepping into it. And then we have some transfers or guys that are able to play this year, and they look really good. They're starting to get their flow, their connection. They run very good routes. And then we have some big body guys on the outside who know how to use their frame. So it's fun, going up against them, and competition is getting us way better.
Tell me about having to tackle Kaliakmanis. What's that experience like?
Listen, I'm going to say this right here. Never gotten ran over by Kaliakmanis.
You have to make that point?
I'm making that point
It's
right
your
now.
teammate.
It's my teammate, but guess what? We competing on the field, outside the field. Yeah, he's gotten sticked up. I ain't gonna lie. He's gotten sticked up. But not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Kyle, great running back. Our iron sharpens iron. One of the best in the Big Ten. So going up against that every day, that helps everyone. Especially with the effort that he gives and how he runs. That prepares us, because I don't think we're gonna play a running back as good as that. Because Kyle's just that guy.
Yeah, he's different.
That guy.
Well, guys, I appreciate it. Have a great season. Stay healthy.
Hey, appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Rutgers kicks off the season August 29th at home against Howard, a game you can see here on the Big Ten Network. Tough non-conference trip to Blacksburg. Conference play opens at home on a Friday night against Washington. But as we mentioned on the show, perhaps just as significant as who is on the schedule is who isn't on it. No Ohio State, no Michigan, no Penn State, no Oregon, and no Iowa. And as we wrap things up here from Piscataway, gosh, I think we have to start with the schedule. I mean, let's be fair here. Rutgers has had it really hard
yes,
for its first 9 years in the Big Ten. Obviously, a function of playing in the Big Ten East and having to play Michigan and Ohio State and Penn State and Michigan State every year. But, man, it came back around in the other direction, and you could not be happy. You could not have a better setup than what they have this year. How important is it to take advantage of it?
It's dramatic, and it's a beautiful opportunity for this program because they, to your point, they've been better than their record has stated when you're looking at conference wins for the last few years. So, I also love how it's laid out. I mean, look, they got some injuries, right? How healthy are they at linebacker? You have to play in the first couple games.
Right.
Probably not, right? Then you get 2 byes this year, set up at perfect times, one after the first 2, and then you go right before the final 4 of the season. So I like how it sets up for them. I think it's going to be fun because they're playing 3 of the 4 new teams. And those are different styles of play, at least out of Washington and for USC for them. So that will be fun, especially at 8 o'clock game at the Kali during the World Series, which is 11 p.m. Eastern for these guys. So they'll look at it as an opportunity, but that'll be one for me because those are totally different styles of play when you look at those teams.
There will be a lot of caffeine consumed in New Jersey, people staying up to watch that game. And this is going to be a team that's worth staying up and watching, no doubt. But Howard, it is a huge break to have the schedule lay out that way.
It really is. And twofold, really, when you think about it, right? Not only just for the young men and the people of this program to be able to take advantage of this schedule this year, but when you talk about continuing to build that momentum, continuing to build the recruiting pitch that's here in this area to continue to get those players, this is big for them. And I think that can't be understated as you continue to build this program. Getting excited about a schedule and getting excited about a team going out and having a chance to compete against some great competition is big.
That's a brilliant point because as the Big Ten gets bigger, the airtime gets tighter, right? So you can't talk about every team. And if we're talking in November about an 8-9 win team at any school, you're getting play. Rutgers will have a chance to be that school in a conversation with Michigan, Ohio State, Oregon, etc. And that, to your point, to the brand, for the brand, man, that's going to be magnificent.
No doubt. And it just feels like they have a ton of momentum going right now. I know you don't necessarily want to go down this road, Howard, but you mentioned recruiting. Recruiting is going fabulously.
Absolutely.
I mean, they're putting together arguably the best class that they've ever had. Can you imagine if they have a year like we're talking about and what that could mean to build on that? Really, the opportunity is there. So, as we've talked about throughout the show, the opportunity is partly contingent on can you throw the ball well enough? What's your takeaway in terms of the one area they really were deficient a season ago?
Well, in one practice with rain going sideways and some wind, I came away impressed. I think it easily we could have said, you know what, it was hard to make a judgment today because of the weather, because etc. I can make a judgment. I thought the anticipation, the timing, most importantly, the tempo of the offense. They play in various tempos in practice. They clearly can run the football. Receiver, they got better. They're going to be more explosive. Are they elite? Way too early. Way too early to say that. But they are much better than they were a year ago. And I think most importantly, this was a team that had a blast. I mean, every touchdown, every explosive play, they're celebrating together. They're jumping around. And, you know, you can notice that. This is not a team full of individuals. They have curated an incredible culture here under Coach Schiano.
So much is going to be on the quarterback. And it's easy for me to go back and look at what happened last year, and he needed to continue to get better. But I say to see him in one practice and in the conditions, and then having an opportunity to sit here and talk with him, he's going to be just fine. He's going to do the things that he needs to do to continue to help this program move forward.
Seems comfortable. No doubt about it. The entire program seems comfortable, and I say that in a good way. That they know who they are, and clearly they know they're headed in the right direction. Going to be a fun team to watch this year. You know, another fun team to watch this year, the Ohio State Buckeyes. Our East Coast swing is over. We're headed back to the Midwest. We'll check in on Ryan Day and company, considered one of the absolute favorites, not just in the Big Ten, but nationally as well. We will see you from Columbus coming up next on our tour. Thanks to everyone here at Rutgers. It has been a fabulous visit in less than ideal conditions here, but everyone, as always, so friendly, so cooperative. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time from Columbus.